Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. This is Keegan, your host with the most when it comes to all things Revops co-op webinar related. Today we have our special guest, Asia Corbett, and we're going to be talking about being a Revops team of one at a seed startup. So seed venture-backed startup, Revops team of one. Asia's got a lot of great experiences and stories to tell us already. So Asia, go ahead, introduce yourself, and then we'll jump right into it.
Hi, I'm Asia. I head up the revenue operations department at postal.io, headquartered out of San Luis Obispo. I've been there since last August, so not quite a year, but in true startup fashion, it feels like 10. I've always kind of been in the business operations space, sales ops, marketing ops. And so that's what really drew me to Postal, the opportunity to build out something and, of course, be a part of a great team.
Now, I'm familiar with Postal, but can you go ahead and tell folks that are hopping on here the first time hearing postal.io what the company does?
Yeah, so we are an experience marketing platform. We just launched our virtual events marketplace. So you can book events through our platform. You can also send direct mail and use that in your marketing and sales programs.
Awesome. And so let's jump into it then. So it sounds like definitely a great platform. You guys are definitely adding to the industry disruptor of that market for sure. And so you joined postal.io about 9 months ago?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so when you came in there, did you grow the tech stack or did you have it established when you came in?
It was established, so I wasn't part of the implementation, and it hasn't really changed that much. We're pretty tight on our budget, so I've only been able to add one additional tool. But eventually I see us doing a bit of reconfiguration and maybe swapping out some tools and not necessarily growing it, but maybe changing it.
Okay. What was the additional item that you fought for to get added to the tech stack?
One of my favorite tools ever, Lean Data, which is a lead routing tool, Salesforce native. And there are so many things that you can do with it besides route leads. You can route contacts, opportunities, and accounts. You can do automation within Lean Data, so you don't have to use Process Builder, Salesforce native automation. And they've added a few partner apps like Outreach and Slack. So instead of doing the triggers in Outreach, I can set up triggers in Lean Data and trigger sequences, all within that interface in Salesforce.
Okay. Well, this kind of leads me to my next question. So obviously, I oversee RevOps initiatives and business development at a seed startup as well. Funnel IQ, you're at a seed startup. Everyone's always curious to know, like, what is your tech stack made up of, like that early on?
Yeah, I think it sort of depends on the organization. We have definitely a CRM. We're using Salesforce. Our marketing automation is Hubspot. We have Zora for our billing and CPQ. We have Outreach for our sales engagement. We have LinkedIn Sales Nav. That's pretty standard in a sales tech stack.
Yeah.
And we're using Seamless, .ai for our enrichment. And then I think we have Lean Data as our lead routing. It also does a little bit of deduping of leads and contacts and automatically merges them and does auto conversion. So we have that. I think that's it. Yeah. We have some other things that connect those systems, and I wouldn't necessarily say they're RevOps. We're using Segment as our CDP, which kind of pulls all of the data together and pushes that into, and we're using Amplitude for looking at our web traffic because HubSpot reporting, it just isn't quite there yet in terms of what we need. I think that's it.
Okay. So real quick for the folks in the room, and I know we've talked about this briefly. So the HubSpot to Salesforce, what does that sync look like? And what do you recommend for early stage startups?
Yeah, so we actually have a bidirectional sync set up, and really best practice is one direction from your marketing automation to your CRM. So that way you can have your leads flow in, you can score them and qualify them, and then push them into Salesforce so that you don't end up with a lot of tech debt. So you don't have to do a lot of cleanup, especially if you don't have the bandwidth to do it or you don't have a lot of resources. Like I'm one person and I have to manage all of these tools and all these processes. So keeping those integrations as clean as possible is really key. One direction. Ideally, all the data should flow down.
Yep, we've talked about this. One direction, Hubspot pushing to Salesforce, and then you can update the rest in Salesforce. That way, you don't have that mess of the bidirectional stages overlapping data. Getting skewed. Yeah. So, which leads to my next question then. So, what was it like coming in when you first started then? Because we all know, especially I'm new to Revops and Revops role. Other people I've reached out to in an early Revops role. It just seems like, bam, it hits you right away. So what was it like for you coming in?
Yeah, definitely is that you step in and you're like, whoa, like being thrown right in. Luckily, the organization is small enough that there wasn't a lot of disorganization, but I think in any startup, in any early stage business, you're going to have to deal with a little bit of that, a little bit of fast moving, lots of change and ambiguity. Processes change every day, and new people. So I inherited this tech stack that I didn't implement. So learning what the syncs were, what the data points are, what are we defining things as, where are the gaps, and starting to sort of build out a plan to address all of that.
Yeah. Okay. And so that leads to the next one then. So you said building out the processes and plans. So where did you start to build? Where did you start to focus on?
Yeah. So originally when I started, I was just going to be responsible for sales operations. But we had a huge gap in our marketing resources, meaning people, processes. So I sort of got pulled in the marketing operations and marketing direction. And so instead of building first in sales ops, we started in marketing operations. And one of the very first things that I did was establish our lead scoring model. Just have something very basic to start gathering data, because the lead scoring model is something that evolves. It doesn't stay the same. So as you grow and as you get more data and you're looking at how is my score matching up against opportunities, then you can make changes. And then a lot of cleanup, the systems, data cleanup, and that spans not just marketing, it also spans sales. And that early on, we didn't really have much of a customer success side of things. We had one CSM, but we had not built out that process yet. And being that early, I mean, we didn't have a renewal. We hadn't hit our renewal cycle, so it was like, okay, we'll think about customer success later. Really, right now we're focused on the top of funnel.
Yes, starting any way to generate more pipeline, top of funnel.
Yes.
So
precisely.
When it comes to building out the marketing operations function, and you just talked about scoring marketing leads, as a startup that early on in the seed stage, like how do you score your marketing leads?
Yeah. So I think that when you're starting out that early and you don't really have that many leads, you just start very basic. Know who your ICP is, and then take some of the attributes from that and use those as like a higher scoring point. You can literally arbitrarily pick what your scale is. We're on a 1 to 15, 0 to 15 sort of scale, where 15 is an MQL. But I've seen people use like 100. They go up to 100. The more attributes you have, you can, expand, but start small, especially because you have nothing in your system yet. And so you can pick some attributes from the ICP profile, like marketing as a role, for example, have 7 points, whereas sales could have 5. And then demographic data. Where are they in the world? Are you international? Are you domestic? So if they're not in the US, you can score them 2 points. And in the US, we'll get 5. Mm-hmm. So we started out with a list of like, I don't know, I think 10 attributes, maybe a little bit less. We also gate our content. So those marketing interactions, we score those as well. Not quite up to MQL level, but right underneath. And then you can start to see how that lead score performs. And what we did is we actually did a retrospect, and that 15 MQL, the average lead score of our closed won opportunities, the context associated with those closed won opportunities, was 16. Oh. So we were just pretty close. So we actually lowered the threshold. So that's like part of that exercise too. Once you start getting the data, and then you can look back and say, okay, what happened? Now we can change it.
Yeah, of these closed, what was their score and so forth?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Good to know. Okay. So as a seed funded company, you probably, no shocker to this, don't have the budget like a Series B, right? Company, or even a Series A. So how do you work around that? What savviness do you have to bring to the Revops department to really be able to go full out when it comes to building out the Revops strategy and function?
Yeah, so I think that you gotta focus more on your processes than your tools or additional headcount, the things that cost money, and prioritize, because as a team of one or a really small team, you can't do everything. And so it may seem like everything's important, especially in a small company, but really, really focusing on what the goals are and then making your list of projects. That's where you have to go. You have to say, okay, I don't have budget for an extra tool to do data cleansing. So when can I do that? How, if I put that off, how is it going to impact other things? Can we hobble along until our next round of funding? Or is it really, really important and we actually really need to make a case for budget? Like an emergency fund.
How many times have you tried to get stuff through the emergency fund?
A few times. I'm told no every time. So.
But hey, coming from the sales background that I have, they say no at first, but then you keep nurturing it, and then eventually.
Yeah, I will say that I was trying to get lean data into our tech stack when I first started, and eventually I got it.
How long?
But our budget how long did it take? Like 6 months.
Hear that, folks? Just keep hitting up the CEO for 6 months straight, and you'll get the tool that you want.
Yeah. Well, okay. You do have to come with a business case.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you make a strong enough business case and you make the tool work and, you really show the value, they'll come around.
Well, it seems like it's definitely adding a lot with the automation and lead routing. And then even it sounds like it's really saving you a lot of bandwidth so you can focus on other initiatives. So it seems like that was a pretty good pick for that time. Speaking of tools, is there a list of tools on the roadmap for when you get the next series of funding? So when you guys reach that Series A?
Yeah, I think that the tools roadmap is probably more like Series B or C. There's some, it's like our marketing automation tool. I think we have some wishes there. I would like to add a data cleansing tool. So something that will dedupe on a higher level. Lean data is really good for contacts and accounts, but it can't dedupe. Leads and contacts, but it can't dedupe other records, other objects.
Like companies.
Yeah, exactly. So having a tool to do that, an enrichment, a dedicated attribution tool would be nice. Something like Visible. And I think, that's it. Perhaps a BI tool as well. Tableau comes to mind. I think my top are um, data cleansing / enrichment tool, an attribution tool, and a BI tool.
Okay. No, that makes sense. That definitely would make sense for the roadmap, especially as you grow and you need more bandwidth.
Yeah.
So when it comes to joining a seed startup and being a RevOps team of one, is it safe to say you also wear the enablement hat? And how do you, if you do, like, how do you balance that?
Yeah, I would say I sort of wear the enablement hat. I mean, I'm definitely trying to provide as much resources as I can. And what I'm trying to do as I'm going along and changing processes and updating processes and changing data to make documentation that I can pass along to the sales team, to make sure that they know what's going on and how to do their jobs, and like little hacks and how to be more efficient. And I used to join the sales team meeting every Friday, but since I don't have the bandwidth anymore, I only join now when I have something to present to them. Here's a change in the process. Here's the documentation. Ping me if you have any questions.
Okay.
Yeah, and trying to build out a repository for all of that documentation.
Yeah, no, documentation is key early on.
It is.
We're starting to hire some BDRs and a community manager over here at the Funnel IQ side. And like, I'm just thanking myself for taking all the notes I did.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when people come in and they're like, okay, well, how do I do this? And it's not just, okay, how do I use Salesforce? Because Salesforce has resources. It's how do I use Salesforce at Postal or at Funnel IQ or at wherever you are.
Well, it doesn't have to be a perfect layout, but as long as you have some form of direction there, like it's just a starting point.
Exactly.
Okay. And so RevOps, enablement, marketing. So any other like roles or hats that you take charge of?
I definitely feel like I've been more of the marketing ops, wearing the marketing operations hat for sure. And it's less of like a RevOps hat right now because I'm one person. It's okay, I'm going to wear the marketing operations hat. Okay, now I'm going to wear the sales operations hat. Now I'm going to wear the sales enablement hat. Now I'm going to wear the reporting hat, the analytics hat. It's switching really quickly between all of those, rather than a cohesive RevOps hat at the moment. Still building, so I hope to be exactly.
We'll see the blueprints that led to
exactly
the structure, and whose thumbprint was on that. Who created that?
Yeah, exactly.
So what is the most important area you are working on now? Like, obviously you talked about how you've built out a lot of marketing operations. You've set up time to enable your reps, train them on the tools. You brought on tools that you see that were kind of like a do or die situation, like you needed to have. So what is the most important area you're working on now that you're coming up on your mark and you've got more initiatives coming up?
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm still focused on the top of funnel and optimizing that top of funnel. That's one of our company goals. And then in terms of revenue operations is alignment. So having alignment across all of the different departments that revenue operations touches, and building out a data governance plan, because very quickly it can get out of control and you can end up with tech debt, even though you're really small. So those are two important things. And then optimizing the sales process, since that's the next step in the funnel.
So dedupe or clean up the data. So clean up the data when you first come in, then build top of funnel automation, such as marketing operations.
Yep.
Help you build some of that top of funnel. And then now focus on, as you're scaling out your sales org, automating that, making them efficient and as effective as possible.
Exactly.
Okay. So Asia, thank you again for your time today. So I have one last curveball of a question that I ask every RevOps leader on here.
Oh boy.
What are your 3 favorite tools across the whole RevOps function that you absolutely love, and wherever you go, you bring on and you recommend to others?
Well, my like 100%, my favorite is Lean Data. That's my favorite tool. Salesforce is good. I mean, I've been using Salesforce for a long time. A lot of companies use that as their CRM. There's a lot that you could do. And I mean, I guess I don't have 3. I would say Outreach is really good. I like the automation capability in lieu of Lean Data and in lieu of Salesforce process builder and workflow rules. Outreach has some pretty good triggers and automation functionality. That's what really speaks to me. Automation. Yeah.
Automation and triggers.
Yeah. And how easy is it to admin? Like, Lean Data is super easy to admin.
Yeah. No, I'll have to go check out Lean Data as we continue to grow. And I'm needing to get rid of some of these deduped contacts, especially from all the RevOps people that join our
community.
They come in with their Gmail, and then all of a sudden they update it with their business email. I'm like, why do I have 2 different contacts?
Yep.
So, well, I appreciate it, Asia. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, you can always connect with Asia Corbett on LinkedIn. She works at postal.io. They are an amazing startup, unicorn to be. And if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me via Slack or email at keegan@revopscoop.com. Thank you. Have a good one.